sales, it's hard. It's not for the faint of heart, and sometimes you just want to say I quit. It's an emotional game, and the bottom line is, if you don't get control over those emotions, you're probably not going to get promoted, you're not going to go to President's Club, and the chances are you're not going to make it very long. But the good news is, I have 3 simple tips that I use to generate millions in sales over the last 20 years that can give you complete control over your sales career so that you don't quit right on the precipice of generating millions of dollars just because you had one bad day. Here we go. So tip number 1 is perception is reality. This isn't just some catchy phrase, it is a fundamental truth. Anybody remember this dress that blew up the internet? Well, if you're like 57% of the world, it's obviously blue and black. However, the other 43% of the world, they see it as white and gold. But here's the crazy part, is they're both right. The reality of perception is that it's up for interpretation. And if you think that your product sucks or you have the worst territory ever, then I got some news for you. You're correct. Let me tell you a little story about my boy Tabarak. So the year was 2020. Tabarak, he just got promoted to a brand new role, and despite the fact he just crushed his quota for years on end, he got a notoriously bad territory. And when I say bad, I mean like 10 years of performance plans and consistent bottom of the dashboard performance. And I was Tabarak's SE at the time, and I remember he told me about his territory, and I didn't have the heart to say it to his face, but in my head, I was like, man, it's been nice working with you, dude. But Tabarak didn't see it that way. Instead of complaining, he started talking about the untapped potential of his territory. He started telling me, oh man, for the last 10 years, no one's even worth this properly. These accounts are basically fresh. And when we fast forward a year, not only did Tabarak avoid a performance plan, he actually ended up as one of the top salespeople in the entire company, and he made over $500,000 in commission that year. Now, here's the funny part of all this, is the territory didn't change, but the person did. And that new person, they brought a different perspective. Now, do you think if Tabarak had the perspective of his previous victims, that he would have found this success? Hell no, he would have been on the bottom of the dashboard just like every other salesperson before him, and he'd have a lot less money in his bank account. So how do you control your perception? Well, that brings us to the next tip. Visualize your future. Now, this isn't some foo-foo magic and fairy dust, and I'm gonna prove it to you. Close your eyes and think about a time in your career where you had the best sales day ever. Maybe you closed a bunch of deals, or you hit quota despite everything that was against you, or you finally landed that whale deal that you've been working for the last 2 years. How did you feel in that moment? Were you proud? Were you confident? Did you feel like you were on top of the world? Now open your eyes. How do you feel right now? Your heart, it's probably beating a little faster. You feel a little lighter, and maybe even a little bit more energized. That's the power of visualization. You completely shifted your mental and your physical state within a matter of seconds. And before you say, oh, well, I can't just remember the past all the time, Brian. Well, you don't have to visualize the past. In fact, emotions, they can time travel. See, here's the thing. Your emotions, they can't decipher the difference between your past and your future. You feel what you feel right now, regardless of when it happened or when it's gonna happen. Think about it. Go back to a memory from your childhood. Think about how you felt at that moment. And even though it might have happened 20, 30 years ago, the feeling that it gives you, it lives in the present. So why not choose to visualize a future that creates emotions that are conducive to your success? So when I was early in my career, I had a mentor, and luckily he told me to read a book that changed my life. And that book was Think and Grow Rich. And it was one of the most impactful books I had ever read. And what they talk about in this book is the ability to use your thoughts and your visualization to create your own future. And he talks about people like Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, some dude named J.D. Rockefeller, who has a dope rap name, by the way, but he also happens to be the richest person of all time when you adjust for inflation. And he talks about how they use their minds and their thoughts to create generational wealth. And the book's principles, they revolve around the idea that what the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. And by visualizing your desired future, you align your thoughts. And by creating those thoughts, you create emotion. And by creating those emotions, you drive action. And that's how you make your visuals a reality. And this is a fundamental key to success. And by the way, when I talk about success, I don't just mean the zeros in your bank account. I don't just mean how much money you got. I'm talking mental success. I'm talking physical success, right? When you visualize, don't just think about the money. Think about, how do you feel? Think about, what do you look like? Are you standing tall? Do you have back problems? Are you hunched over? Are you energetic? What is it that you look like? What is it that you feel like? And what is it that you have? The more specific you could get with your visualizations, the more likely it's going to happen, because it's gonna drive more emotion and get you closer to that reality. But this actually brings us to our third tip, and that is that your physiology affects your psychology. This is the easiest way to hack your mental mind state. Shout out to Tony Robbins, by the way, because he taught me this back when I was a teenager. But your physiology affects your psychology. So let's think about it. If you were visualizing the most successful version of yourself, why aren't they slouched over? Why aren't they looking down? Why aren't they all stressed out all the time? Well, if they do look like that, then you're probably fucked up, because what you should be seeing is somebody who's standing tall, somebody who's got their shoulders back, somebody who's got some energy. And the reason why we correlate that to success is because the way you carry yourself, it drives your mind state. In fact, as I was saying that, if you stood up a little taller, you put your shoulders back, I guarantee you got more energy. And think about it. Have you ever noticed how hard it is to be in a bad mood when you're dancing or you're going for a walk? You probably feel like you got a freaking bluebird on your shoulder. And that's your physiology at work. It's one of the easiest ways to gain control of your mental state. And in fact, it's such a powerful tool. We made an entire video about how your physiology can be one of the best ways to overcome stress in your sales career. It's as simple as that. If sales is kicking your ass right now and you're just like, I need to quit, take a moment and reevaluate your perception. Visualize a successful future. Be very specific about it to the point it stirs up your emotions so that you take action and get your ass off the couch. Do these 3 things and I can guarantee you it's gonna completely turn around your sales career. And I've seen it happen countless times. And if you do all 3 of these things and it somehow doesn't work for you, I don't know what to do for you. But remember, success, it's not random. It's a process. So just make sure you stay grinding and become the person that you wanna be. And never, ever stop hustling.